In the past few months, a new ARG has been gaining a considerable amount of traction. And since you guys have still not asked me to cover it, I decided the responsibility was simply an unspoken one and went ahead and made a video about it anyway. Hi everyone, welcome back to being the saddest little baby in the room. The only show where tears, they're falling down at the party. Just sit back, relax, and buckle up, because tonight we're going to begin delving into the world of Welcome Home. Something of a found footage puppet show, and all of you are coming down with me. I first discovered bits of this series from posts on Tumblr. Go follow me on Tumblr, by the way, I promise I'm very funny. But one can only really start getting into the multimedia fourth wall breaking story by exploring the website. Because right now, that's basically all Welcome Home is. A simple website and a prologue that will likely serve as a diving board for the plotline and lore as the ARG gets expanded. A bunch of other really long videos have been made going super in-depth and analyzing every single detail that we've been given so far. So in this video, I'm going to try to help people who might be a little bit lost kind of ease their way into the series. Welcome Home is supposed to be an American children's puppet show created by the aptly named Playfellow Workshop. The descriptions and the concept art make it look like something Jim Henson would have worked on, akin to Sesame Street or Fraggle Rock. I'm gonna go off on a tangent here, but there was one episode of The Muppet Show that scarred me as a kid. It was the episode where Alice Cooper was the guest star, but the skit itself didn't actually involve him. And I know this is totally irrelevant, but it's super weird and super funny, and I wanted to show it to you. So here is that.
Oh, I've never known a toothache this bad before.
He's never known a toothache this bad before.
It's like having toothache all over my body.
It's like having toothache all over his body.
And another thing, I keep hearing voices. And what's worse, the echo is often incorrect.
So weird.
And sometimes
it says what I'm going to say before I said it.
It says what I'm going to Yeah, well,
none of this is helping my toothache.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Pity you couldn't take the teeth as well.
Who was that?
Don't look at us.
Whoa. I've never known a toothache this bad before.
He's never known a toothache this bad before.
It's like having toothache all over my body.
It's like having toothache.
Right? That was a sheltered kid, but man, that freaking video. Like, I know it was like supposed to be funny, but they pull back, and it's a tooth within a tooth. It's this cycle. As a kid, I felt like I now understood what hell was supposed to be. The concept that there are things worse than death was imprinted in my little brain. On that note, sorry, I appreciate you letting me ramble about random things. I love having a platform to talk and exercise these demons from my childhood. Let us now return to the topic at hand. The first episode of the seemingly cheery and child-oriented Welcome Home aired on October 11th, 1969, and the show ran until 1974. According to the Welcome Home Restoration Team's website, this is the official synopsis of the original show. Welcome Home primarily focused on the neighbors, the show's inhabitants, who were accompanied by a mixture of animated breaks and illustrated storybook segments. That bit kind of reminds me of that show Between the Lions, another show I watched when I was a kid. The setting itself was a colorful and exaggeratedly designed home, filled with brightly colored creatures that lived within it. Episodes usually began with a character named Wally introducing the focus or theme of the day, before coming across other characters who would join him on his escapades, until the end of the day, which would signify the conclusion of the show. All of the characters had notable reoccurring segments that were sprinkled throughout the entirety of the show's run, such as Eddie Deer creating arts and crafts, Sally Starlet performing plays, or Wally painting a picture with help from other members of the cast. The viewer was often regarded as an additional neighbor, with Wally speaking directly to them on a regular basis, which is interesting because there's a lot of shows that do that. For example, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm done. I'm done with the references. I got it. All right. Sorry. Critically praised and financially successful, Welcome Home dominated its Saturday morning time slot with its colorful cast of puppets, entertaining and addictive stories, and lively sets unlike anything you've seen before. Surely a spectacle for audiences of all ages. Welcome Home was broadcast to a currently unknown channel until it went off the air sometime in 1974. Got randomly taken off the air. That's not suspicious in the slightest. I wonder if some strange activity or accident caused problems. I guess we'll never know. Nothing further was ever heard from Playfellow Workshop. Welcome Home would be their only production. Currently, no footage of the show is known to exist, but a dedicated group of anonymous fans and enthusiasts are working tirelessly to uncover whatever scraps of information they can. But as they uncover scripts, sketches, old storybooks, and advertising connected to the show, it's entirely possible that they are uncovering something which should have remained hidden. Welcome Home, of course, in truth, is an in-development psychological horror alternate reality game that was started development as far back as 2018 by Clown Illustrations. Before I go any further, you can find the website I'm talking about throughout this entire video and the artist's official Tumblr page down below in the description. Along with my Tumblr account, go follow me. I'm so funny, you'll cry laughing. Hee. Now that we kind of understand what it is that we're even dealing with here, we can begin delving into the catacombs of the main area to get information, the website, acting as a homepage and repository for all associated images, pictures, and text, plus a few other surprises. Upon first glance, everything seems fairly mundane. The wardrobe, color palette, and general aesthetic of the show all heavily evoke the grooviness of the 70s, mixed with the uncanny valley effect present in modern classics such as Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, which you all know I'm very familiar with. There's a general theme explored throughout all of the lore of love, which, as I say it out loud, sounds like the most generic, general theme imaginable. So let me try to narrow down what I mean by that a little bit. There's a familial love and a very welcoming aura that's inflicted on you, the reader, from the very beginning. It gets sickly sweet if you keep reading through it for long enough. There's repeated references to loving your neighbor, and the creatures in the show all seem very taken with the idea of being loved. There are technically 9 principal characters, but one of them is rather unorthodox. The most prominent character of Welcome Home is the painter Wally Darling, who teaches the viewer about a wide array of topics. He's also the inhabitant of the main home. There's something mildly sinister about the relationship that Wally has to the home, but we'll get more into that later. Next, we have Barnaby B. Beagle, and the website says we don't know what the B stands for. I think it stands for bi, actually. Barnaby the Bisexual Beagle. The website calls him a goofy layabout with a love for jokes, Barnaby's Welcome Home's funniest neighbor. Always ready with a joke on hand, or even just a silly observation, this big blue beagle always knows how to have fun, much to the dismay of some of the grumpier residents. He's basically like a more laid-back version of Fozzie the Bear. Julie Joyful is the happiest resident of the home, which probably means she has dementia. Upbeat, silly, always ready to play with her friends. There's never a boring day in Welcome Home when she's around. And she's Frank's best friend, which is hilarious because Frank frankly is said to have a frown fixed upon his face. That was very alliterative. Frank frankly frown fixed face. He's well-read and seemingly has a pessimistic demeanor, which makes his pairing with Julie especially interesting. In-universe concept art indicates that his head can fully rotate. There is not yet any information as to why he has this ability, but it's explained that it spins when he's panicked or angry, and it's implied that his head is even detachable on the Tumblr blog. Despite being the grumpiest and grayest of this colorful cavalcade of characters, it's good to have someone so organized and matter-of-fact amidst the bunch. Poppy Partridge is a bird whose exact species is unknown. Perhaps the most frantic, frazzled, and feathered neighbor in Welcome Home, Poppy Partridge is the resident chicken, so to speak. Get it? You get it, right? Chicken? Ha 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 ha! From a sprained beak to sunburnt feathers, she's always thinking about the worst outcomes of even pleasant situations. Ha 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 ha! So she has anxiety. Damn, imagine having anxiety. To tie it yet again into Jim Henson stuff, Poppy is like Big Bird if Big Bird wasn't a schizophrenic. Howdy Pillar is Welcome Home's friendliest and happiest shopkeeper. This colorful caterpillar knows his store like the back of his own hands, which is impressive considering how many hands he has. Charismatic, quick-witted, and remarkably jolly, Howdy always seems to have whatever his neighbors need with a price that just can't be beat. Is that price nothing? Does he sell his wares for $0? Are we saying that let's just say you don't pay with money? Okay, he towers far above the rest of the cast in the concept art. And I want to bring us back to the point being that this is going to take a turn for the worse. And I just can't stop thinking about the sizes of the respective characters. For example, the bird character Poppy is supposed to be 7 to 8 feet tall. And this freaking giant bug looms over her in every picture. I'm going to assume that these characters may not look quite so cheery when we finally do uncover actual footage from the show. If we do. We probably will, though. I think we probably will. And that's the thing, right? This entire concept is brilliant from a marketing perspective. And I'm going to bet the creator didn't intend it to be that way, but the website refers to old merchandise, lost episodes of the show, books, stuffed animals, all kinds of stuff that will be restored as time goes on. This website and this whole idea is like proof of concept for a show. And I'll come back to this, but artists, if you're an artist and you're watching this, you should be taking note of this, take inspiration from this. And I'll explain more about what I mean at the end, but let's keep going. Sally Starlet is a literal star that fell to Earth, which some have pointed out is Satan's backstory. You know, the devil from the Bible. She's a firecracker who's willing to let her imagination run wild in the name of a good adventure, often at the expense of her more cautious neighbors. Thankfully, she's got a good head on her shoulders. And also a sunny disposition to match. Next, we have Eddie Deer, a mailman. Imagine writing a letter to Eddie Deer. Dear. Sounds like a Ghost Jewels scammer account. He's reliable, he's kind, and he's filled with determination. Despite being a bit of a clumsy and forgetful fellow, Eddie loves his job and always manages to deliver people's mail on time. Now, if the living characters were the only thing that we had to worry about, we would be done here. 8 principal characters living in a delightful little town filled with happiness and harmony. But no, there are darker things lurking just beneath the surface tension. For example, on the webpage, there is art of that main house I've mentioned a few times, the one that Wally lives in. The house has fucking eyes that wander, seeking out fresh prey with glaring bulbs of odious portent. We are all doomed in the black light of the great all-seeing eye. For real though, the house is alive and serves as the 9th character. We know very little about it, but here's what the website says. Home is regarded as the 9th neighbor, but seemingly cannot speak, as illustrations show Home speaking only in onomatopoeias, such as creak, squeak, bang. Sources say, however, that this puppet's eyes could move through a hand crank on the other side of the prop, facing away from the camera. Additionally, the doors, chimney, and windows were supposedly very animated during episodes. We will likely learn more soon, as the archive team is hard at work, desperately trying to uncover more and more information and more footage. Again, this entire plot is still technically in a prologue stage, so we've got a long way to go. We've got a lot to look forward to. Now that we have a grasp on the main components of the show, I want to show you some of the surprises that can be found hidden around the website, if you know where to look. I'm not going to tell you exactly how to find this stuff, that you can discover on your own, but I'm going to show you some of the bigger ones so that we can, just to give you a taste. I highly recommend you explore the website after watching this video if you haven't already. There's a jump scare called As Above, which I take to be a reference to the mantra, as above, so below, and beyond I imagine. Push beyond the lines of reason. Push the envelope. Watch it bend. When you go to a certain area on the website, you are greeted with this image of Wally kneeling before one of the house's terrifying eyes in a completely dark room. And this is obviously in stark contrast to the bright and pastel colors of everything that we have seen up until this point. You can also discover a horrifying audio file of Wally singing the song Beautiful Dreamer, with what sounds like labored breathing playing in the background.
Welcome to me. Starlight and dewdrops are waiting for thee. Sounds of the wood heard in the day. Lulled by the moonlight, have all passed away. Ha 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 ha. I don't know the other words. That's all Barnaby taught me. Do you like it?
As he finishes the song, you hear loud footsteps, as Wally expresses this feeling that he hopes that he's done well, but he's not sure if he has. And then the tape ends.
That's good, I think.
Despite this being the most atmospheric thing that we've come across so far, I can't help but wonder what it would sound like if it was like a different song than he was singing.
Hey, you little it's baby. You think you're so cool. You think you're so tough.
No, that's still just as terrifying. Moving on. The last thing I want to show you kind of continues to enforce this idea that the house itself is evil, at least in some way. Perhaps it's even feeding on the love that we as audience members are giving to the characters in the show. That's my current like theory, I guess. I don't know. I thought of it while I was scripting the video and was like, I like that a lot. A few wrong clicks will take you here. So to recap, it looks like Wally's eyes are shaking more than my hands were shaking when someone asked me to sign an autograph for the very first time in my life. It was a couple of weeks ago. I got to sign someone's Pokemon card. It was the freaking coolest thing ever. He asks if we can see him, then tells us to stay quiet. My current interpretation of this is that he's warning us about the true nature of the show. Some of the art at the beginning tries to kind of indicate that Wally himself might be a villain, but the deeper you go, the more it starts to seem like maybe he's just aware and is trying to warn us, the audience. So those are the basics of Welcome Home, at least for right now. There is so much potential here. I'm very, very excited to see where the creator takes us next. Which brings me to my final point. If you are an artist, you've got to use this. You don't need studio backing. You don't need $1 million. You don't need an elaborate marketing campaign. You don't even need to have anything really finished. Look at what we have here. A failure to communicate. Just kidding. A simple website, a bunch of concept art, lots of fun lore, and tidbits of information. You can do that. You can do that. You don't even need the website. You can make concept art. You can write stories, you know? Start there. Don't get overwhelmed with your projects thinking, I don't have enough. You do. If you have pen and paper, you have enough. That's all you need to get started. Vita Carnus is another great example of something very, very simple being made into something really, really cool, very powerful, that like brings a whole lot of people together and is just really cool. I find this very inspiring, and I'm really, really happy that it's getting like attention. Hopefully we're going to get a whole show out of it, or, you know, I can't wait to see what the next steps for the ARG is. Maybe there'll be a video game. Who knows what could happen from here, because there's been so much support. Speaking of which, if you are watching this and were like unaware or are just starting to get into it, go freaking follow the artists. Go support their stuff. A lot of you may not know this about me, but I'm like Hannibal Lecter. I like to eat people if they're not polite to me. And my personal definition of politeness is, if you're subscribed to my channel, then you're very polite. So unless you're into that sort of thing, weirdo, if you are into that sort of thing, then flip it around though. I'll eat you if you are polite. I don't fucking know. Subscribe to the channel, please. Be sure to tune in next week where I will be pulling all of my teeth out because I can't afford dental care, and I've never known a toothache this bad before. It's like having toothache all over my body. We're approaching 40,000 subscribers, and my confidence is growing a lot. So yeah, this is fun. Thank you for watching these stupid videos. Onwards and upwards. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram too. I post about all sorts of things. Links to everything in the description. Go follow me on Tumblr. I'm so funny. You're gonna fucking come.
Do not enter is written on the doorway. Why can't everyone just go away? Except you. You can stay. What do you think of my treehouse? It's where I sit and talk really loud. Usually I'm all by myself.